Enemy sniper spotted. Enemy APC spotted. Hostile forces spotted. Over. Artillery, your area. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy. Spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy infantry. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Hostile forces spotted. Over. Enemy tank is inbound. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Infantry spotted. Enemy forces. Over. Enemy infantry. Enemy troops identified. Over. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy forces. Enemy troops. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy infantry. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy sniper spotted. Enemy sniper.
Requesting vehicle drop.
Enemy forces. Enemy sniper spotted. Vehicle drop. Enemy forces. Enemy activity. Do you copy? Enemy forces spotted. Over. Hey, enemy unit. I need a unit on the move. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Hostile forces spotted. Over. Enemy spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. How about some hostile forces? Enemy unit. Enemy forces. Over. Enemy infantry spotted.
UAV online and transmitting.
Enemy infantry forces spotted. Infantry. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy forces. Enemy infantry spotted. Quick, jump in. Activity. Do you copy?
UAV online and transmitting.
Enemy unit on the move. Thanks, Champ. Enemy sniper spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy cars spotted. Spotted.
UAV online.
Hostile infantry spotted. Over. Hey. Enemy tank is inbound. Over. Enemy activity. Do you copy? We got hostile armor. Sniper. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Infantry spotted. Enemy unit on the move. Do you copy? Enemy forces spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy sniper spotted. Enemy vehicle. Hostile forces spotted. Over. Enemy unit on the move. Do you copy? Sniper. Enemy activity. Do you copy? Enemy spotted. Over. Spotted.
Go.
Hostile on the road.
Transmitting.
Enemy troop! We got hostile armor! Enemy forces spotted! Enemy infantry spotted! Enemy cars spotted! forces spotted. Enemy infantry. Enemy force. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy troops.
Transmitting on this mark.
Enemy unit. Enemy activity. You copy. Enemy activity. Enemy car spotted. 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 Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy car spotted. Enemy car spotted. Enemy car spotted. Enemy forces. Enemy sniper identified. Enemy sniper. Enemy sniper spotted. Enemy sniper spotted. Enemy sniper spotted. Enemy sniper spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy troops identified. Do you copy? Enemy unit tank is inbound. Over. Enemy sniper spotted. Enemy activity. Artillery, your area. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy infantry. Enemy force. Enemy car spotted. Enemy car spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy unit spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces. Enemy unit vehicle spotted. Over. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy infantry. Enemy forces. Enemy units on the move. Hey, thanks. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy spotted. Spotted. Enemy units on the move. Enemy infantry. Enemy car spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. Requesting enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy units on the move. Enemy forces. Enemy forces. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy infantry. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy car spotted. Do you copy? Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy units on the move. Enemy units on the move. Roger that. Good deal. Enemy units on the move. Enemy support spotted. Over. Spotted. Over. I owe you one. Enemy force. Enemy spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. On the move. Enemy troops. Enemy car spotted. 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 Enemy infantry. Enemy car spotted. Enemy car spotted. Enemy car spotted. Enemy vehicle. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy car spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy unit. Enemy unit on the move. Enemy activity. Doing hostiles on the ground. Enemy troops. We got hostile ammo. A bingo on ammo. Do you copy? Enemy sight. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy car spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy hostile on the road. Enemy forces spotted. Hostile forces spotted. Enemy forces over. Enemy units on the move. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy forces. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy forces. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy units spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Hostiles on the ground. Enemy units on the move. Enemy spotted. Hostile forces spotted. Over. Enemy forces spotted. I need spotted. Enemy infantry spotted. Enemy forces spotted. Enemy car spotted.